all right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! In a room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning Billy alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the Misfit way. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. It's Aubrey right now. We're the more than you know. 9888, don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We're the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is vindication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home, you belong. You belong. You belong. Oh wait, you. Oh wait, you belong.
Woo! All right, Misfit Nation, it's that day, the day you wait for every week, when the 2 guys, Bonnie and Clyde, some call them Cagney and Lacey, they're here, the last day of March. One more page turning in the calendar, one more chance to show up, step up, and finish out the month strong. All month, we've been grinding, pushing, stacking victories, and tonight we close it out the only way the crew knows how to. Loud, proud, and full of energy. Because tonight, we've got something special. An incredible guest, a warrior who served this nation with honor, discipline, and grit. So before we fire this thing all the way up, let's take a moment to recognize the sacrifice, the courage, and the leadership that comes with wearing that uniform. Tonight, we are honored to welcome an amazing United States Army veteran to the Misfit Nation family. Misfits, this is what it's all about. Community, resilience, service, and showing up stronger than ever. So get loud, finish this month with some fire, and welcome the voices of grit, resilience, and straight up Tuesday energy. Steven and Jake, the Tuesday crew.
Good evening. How are you? Good evening, Steven. I am good. It seems like I just saw you.
Like this morning. It's the weirdest thing.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Hey, it was great to hang out with you. Great to hang out with you. Great to have supper with you last night. Breakfast again this morning. Had a great time. Glad you came down here. And
hey, you guys are close. I get in the car, man. You know.
Yeah. And
I got the Android. I took the ride.
Yes, and for the rest of the Misfit Nation that's on here tonight. I am doing my first live from the state of Maryland, so I can shock that state off my list. But yeah, you're having a great time, and well, I see you had a safe ride back to New Jersey.
Yeah, I sat in traffic. I was actually about traffic. It was a parking lot on Route 78. There was a tractor fire, and I sat there for a good hour, idling, just sitting there. Other than that, it wasn't bad. It was a quick run until that one spot.
I completely understand. And speaking of sitting in traffic, tonight, our guest is somebody who never sits in traffic.
She's
and if you don't believe me, go to TikTok and Crazy Car Chick. I tell you what, she's amazing. Some of the driving, some of her videos, the things she's doing are great. I sit here all afternoon doing my research, just scrolling through TikTok and Instagram and watching some of the amazing cars and her car spotting tours where she drives around car spotting. She finds some amazing cars in that. Hopefully she'll tell us about some of the ones that she's seen. But tonight, Misfit Nation, we have the honor of having TMA. She's a U.S. Army veteran. She was a telecommunication system operator. And when she was in the Army, she faced a lot of challenges. And I'm not going to go into all of them. I'm going to let Tia tell her story. But she ended up getting out and was trying to find something that would give her purpose. And she found it behind the wheel of cars going over the speed limit. Now, she does this in a safe way, but it's amazing. And she found therapy at 120 miles an hour. And we're going to get her on here and let her tell her story. TMA.
Hello, Tia.
Hello. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for being here. And hey, your videos are fire. Okay, that's all I got to say.
I appreciate it. It takes a lot of time and editing and scouting to find all the things that I find, but I love every minute of it. So it's not really a job. It's something I enjoy quite profusely.
That's
awesome.
Fantastic.
And well, I can tell when you're out there that you're really enjoying what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things I like to share, especially for veterans. The most important thing coming out of the military is finding something that you're passionate about and doing it often. That was a
Yes.
big game changer for me. As soon as I went back into the car scene several years ago, everything really took a big turn for the better for everything, which was great.
And that is amazing. And we did your introduction there and gave just a little scratch of what your bio is and what you're about. Why don't you just take some time and tell the Misfit Nation how you got to where you are today and tell us your story.
Well, I'll do my best. I know it's not like 2 week long show because it's a lot. But yeah, I joined the military at 19. I was like many people, I was kind of a lost soul in my teenage years and knew that if I didn't change my life that it was not going to go in a very good direction. So joined the military, was super excited about it. I just assumed that joining, I would become part of the military family and I would be accepted as, just another soldier. But sadly, back in 2001, so we're looking at what, 25 years ago, kind of telling my age there a bit. There wasn't very much acceptance, at least in my experience, with women in the military. So I was definitely treated as an outcast. I actually picked a job, the telecommunications, to be around more guys because I've always had I've always had hobbies that were more based in cars and sports and stuff like that. So I've always gotten along better with guys. So I just assumed that things would be the same way. And sadly, I was very mistaken. It was a very rough 4 years that I spent in the military. There was definitely some good times, made some great friends, but definitely something that left me just another notch in my belt, traumatized. So that's something that I'm very passionate about, is helping veterans now, because I know what it's like to go through it and come out with just not such great memories and stuff like that. How I got here, it's kind of crazy. I was actually an artist for most of my life, and having an autoimmune disorder, which I started to experience symptoms from that not long after I joined the military. Um, I lost the use of my hands for painting, and I actually got into doing tattoos, which was a big dream of mine for a really long time. Had to put all of it down, and not gonna lie, I went through kind of like a crisis period of what am I gonna do? I've only ever done art my entire life. Feeling just kind of lost, and like you don't have an identity, because that's what everybody knew me for. And luckily, I fell back into the car scene and got into motorsports, and everything just it was like a switch flipped, and life was awesome just immediately. I was in, I'm not gonna lie, I was into street racing and the underground car scene back in my 20s. Did a lot of stupid stuff. Glad I didn't glad I didn't go to jail for. Um, but doing it the legal way, doing a lot of stuff at the track and going to car meets and getting involved in the car community, is definitely the way to go. You don't have to worry about getting arrested. You get to have a blast, and I get to bring veterans out to the track and let them experience what I've been experiencing. And it's honestly one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done, other than advocating for mental health, which it kind of ties together. Because, like you said, I've been using motorsports and the car stuff for my mental health as kind of a therapeutic thing. And several of the veterans that we've brought out have actually opened up because they were surrounded by fellow vets and having a great time, and opened up some of the challenges that they were facing. And we were able to get them connected with resources to help them through some of the struggles that they were facing, which is something I didn't even see happening. I was like, I'm just going to show them a good time, get them some adrenaline therapy, and
Hmm.
maybe introduce them to a new something new that they can do and have a good time. Never really thought that it would make them feel comfortable enough to share some of the things that a lot of people, especially veterans on the male side, do not like to talk about.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just great, to because a lot of us, even though we might live in communities where there's a lot of veterans and stuff, we might not know a lot of people there, and getting out there, bunch of folks, same interests, doing the same thing. Yeah, I can see where that would be therapeutic, and a lot of them opening up, uh, you know, and getting out there and really have healing happen at the track. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really neat to see a lot of them when all of these veterans are complete strangers that I either find on on social media, or maybe out in the community while I'm searching for cars, because I have my entire car covered in stuff that has to do with the mental health and veterans. So I get a lot of vets that come up to me to talk to me about it because they see that I'm a veteran. And watching them show up to the track, and they're very quiet. A lot of them are, they seem kind of like, oh, what's going to happen? And then after they get their first ride in a drift car, it's like a completely different person comes out of the car. They are excited, they're hyped up, and I'm like, yeah, that's it right there. Because that the adrenaline boosts all those great chemicals in your brain,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people may try to say that you can't consider it to be therapeutic, but anything that boosts your dopamine and serotonin is definitely therapeutic, and it has changed my life, and I look forward to being able to help as many vets as I can through this program.
Hey, and yeah, and I tell you what, there's really not a bunch of side effects to this like there is when they try to push pills on you for all that.
Oh, absolutely. I've gone to the VA for mental health care, and for probably over a decade tried a multitude, long lists of medications with awful side effects. And it wasn't until I went through a session with 220, which is an organization that I promote a lot, that does a
Mm-hmm.
session for PTSD, that completely changed it changed my brain. It changed everything about how I feel about life and how I feel about myself. Took away a lot of the PTSD symptoms that I was experiencing for most of my life. And that's like a big thing. That was one of the biggest things that I wanted to promote when I first started this. It was the first thing I put on my car. And I try to introduce the program or the session that they do to as many veterans as possible, because there's no side effects. It's been proven through their testing and all of the veterans that they've done the session with, that it's 100% effective in having some kind of positive effect. And
Okay.
so for the last, I think it's almost, we're going on the 4th season that I have been completely medication free. I no longer, require any medication to stabilize my mood. I'm always, I have good days and bad days. Life is hard sometimes, but I handle all of the stress of life, 1,000 times better than I ever did before. And so that's, again, I'm a huge advocate on people healing their mental health and hopefully not having to rely on medications.
Yeah, and yeah, and that's a good thing. That's a matter of fact. When I was looking through all the stuff that you support and some of the stickers that you had on your car and all that stuff, I picked out 3 groups that here while we're talking, I kind of wanted you to kind of talk about, and that one of them was 220. The other one is Veterans Trust, and the other one is Check a Vet, and that you support. If you don't mind, while we're going through this, we can talk a little bit about each one of them if you feel comfortable doing
Oh,
that.
absolutely. I love sharing all of the organizations that I've partnered with, because they all have a purpose and they all are out there doing good work for veterans. The Veterans Trust actually does a similar thing to what I do, but they're based down in Florida. They do events for veterans. They get veterans out on the track and get that motorsports experience. They are also doing some testing with some sim rigs to test the effects of motorsports on the brain, and hopefully correlate the fact that it is actually having a positive impact on the brain, which, all of us that are involved in it, we all know that it definitely does. And then Check a Vet is actually the nonprofit that I've recently partnered with to make my program a nonprofit. So I can take donations, and all of that is tax deductible, which helps, hopefully will help me to gain sponsorship and donations. They go out into the community and raise awareness on the signs of PTSD. So they raise awareness with people and let them know to check on their vets and to know the signs and symptoms that they might be struggling, even though they're not talking about it.
Yeah,
Check
we had.
a Vet. I've met 3 times. I've met the gentleman that runs it at the track in Nashville when
Oh,
my brother
nice.
and I go to the NASCAR race. That's why I help with 3 bracelets every year. I buy a bracelet, donate, Check a Vet, and we hang out. We chat with them like all weekend. We stop by the town. We talk with them.
Yeah, they're great people.
We meet great people.
I've built a relationship with them over the past year, and we finally decided, like, hey, let's take this to the next level. And we've actually named the program Check-A-Vet Motorsports, which I am currently in the process of branding all of that on top of selling my house. So juggling a few things at the moment, but we're gonna get it all, ironed out. And I look forward to probably mid-season. I've got two cars that I'm working on. I've got my daily, which is a 2012 GTI. That one's mostly used for like road racing and autocross. And then I've got a 95 Mustang that was donated by a local company here called Graphic Effects. They donated the Mustang. It was actually about halfway finished. So we've got to get some funding to finish that car. And once that car is finished, I will be able to drive full time, giving rides to veterans, taking them out for some drifting fun. And I can't even
Awesome.
can't even put into words how excited I am. I've been waiting for this for like the last 3.5 years. And hopefully we will be doing that. I would really like to get it together for Motorsports Festival called Slush. I believe it's in September. So hopefully we'll have that done, and the content will definitely be going through the roof at that point, because I'll be doing a lot more drive-in.
Awesome.
Now,
And
the
our
rides and
producer,
all, do you do just in your area or do you go different
I
states?
honestly would love to travel all throughout the United States, and I've actually been invited to go overseas.
Mhm.
But as you can imagine, it's very expensive.
Oh, yes. That's
Drifting,
extremely
drifting,
expensive.
drifting is such a, I picked one of the most expensive sports, of course. But right now, we've taken it to Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Colorado. I think that's it right now.
That's
And
fantastic.
Georgia. So we've been to a couple states, and hopefully be expanding once we get the car. And we'll have to get a truck and trailer and all that stuff too, so that we can start traveling with the car. But I've only been doing this for 3 years, and the progress I've made, I'm pretty stoked about it. I've
You should
gathered
be.
a lot of partnerships where we kind of talk about each other online to try to boost, the stuff like that. The big thing is going to be moving into like getting a tire sponsor for one, because we'll go through so many tires, and just funding to get the cars built. But we'll
yeah.
get there.
Now we got a friend of the show down in North Carolina, Warriors in Motion, that our producer he'll hook you up. Or he'll send you their information. Uh, they get they get people out on the track and they build the cars. He has the veterans come in, help build the cars, and then they put them on the track. I think they go to Rockingham a lot, and
Oh,
they're just
cool.
doing now. They're doing circle track racing, just oval racing, NASCAR style. But yeah, he said the veterans have an amazing time with anything with going fast.
Yep.
Is
I
is
tell people all the time that I didn't realize there was such a drop in, I feel like there was such a drop in my mood and my motivation after I left the military. And I didn't really understand why, especially with the fact that I had such a negative experience. But when I got back into cars and started driving fast and getting the adrenaline, it clicked to me. It was because it was a high adrenaline job, like you're always on the alert. Um, you might even be shooting stuff or blowing stuff up. So it's a big change to go from military life to civilian life, because most jobs in the civilian world are not adrenaline based. And so it's definitely something that I recommend, if anybody, and any veterans are interested in cars or motorsports or anything like that, is to get involved with these programs, because it makes a world of difference to have that back in your life.
it does, and I had to find just like all veterans, I had to find something that I enjoyed doing that was therapeutic as well. And I found mine at a little bit slower pace. I, I I like sitting and looking between the ears of a horse and just riding around. That's that's my relaxation. And so
I actually enjoy horses as well, and that's something I've tried finding here locally is a farm or something that I could, I don't necessarily need to ride them. I have a lot of body aches from my autoimmune disorder, but I love being around them. They're very there's I don't know, there's something special about a really big animal that's nice to you. you know.
it, there is, and you talk about your body aches, your autoimmune. I'm gonna tell you right now, my wife has an autoimmune disorder. Mrs. Holland, she's had it for a while now. She gets on horseback, and the contact, the movement of the horse, the warmth of the horse, everything. She feels better after she's been on horseback than she does otherwise.
Huh,
So you might want to look
that's
into that.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is very healing.
But you were talking about the other program, and you said where were they located?
They are located in. There's one that's Warriors in Motion. They are
Uh-huh.
in North Carolina,
Okay.
and then Warriors to Racers. That's another organization. And then I've got a friend of mine out west in the Pacific Northwest, up in Washington, that has After Action Racing, and yeah, the Warriors in Motion's outside of Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I actually pursued starting another motorsports program was I couldn't find one in in this region. I, did a lot of research and found some on the East Coast. I found some on the West Coast and I found some down south and realized there was a big hole in this area and I honestly couldn't believe it with how many organizations that there wasn't one around Nashville. There's a lot of tracks in this area,
Mm-hmm.
between Tennessee and Kentucky and Alabama and Georgia. There's so many tracks and nobody out there getting the veterans involved. So I took it upon myself. No experience. I just figured I'd start inviting a couple vets out and see what happened. And here we are 3 years later, and it's a full blown program. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now I know where there's a lot of tracks at in Kentucky and Southern Indiana, but sadly they're all dirt tracks. So I don't think that would.
But with my program, it's a motorsports across the board. So we do stuff with go-karts. We do stuff. I go to the drag strip. I do my main focus is on drifting just because I love it so much. But anything to do with motorsports, I actually went out with oh, what is that? Track Day for Veterans. And
Mm-hmm.
they got us a VIP experience over in Bristol. So we got to hang out with one of the drivers and their team and get that whole pit experience of what it's like to show up before the NASCAR stuff starts and got to be right there in the pits. And let me tell you, I only made it till about 3 o'clock and my head was pounding. That is some of the loudest car action I've ever experienced.
Yeah, but is it
Yeah.
not amazing being up close watching them do
Oh,
that?
it's way better being in the
In the air,
pits. Like
ripping it
that's my
apart.
favorite.
Oh my goodness.
I love
Yeah.
like we got to watch them all get like their tech done and then
Mm-hmm.
got to watch them do like all of their testing laps. And then I got to literally sit on the wall, which was, only probably 50 feet from the actual track. It's just the coolest. Like you go up in the stands and the cars are all little and no, I want to be right there where the wind is blowing my hair and you got to have earmuffs or you're gonna go deaf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and
Normally when we're in Nashville at the races, we're at turn four in the infield, right at the fence as the cars are coming around. So you feel the breezes
Yeah.
they're blowing by you. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's such
That's
such
like when me and my wife and we had tickets. We kept tickets at Bristol for about 10 years, and we were second row, about I don't know, about 50 feet on the fast side of the start finish line. And yeah, it got breezy down there when they all got to going.
It's crazy to see how fast they go by you. Like you see them when you see them from afar, it doesn't even compare to when you're like looking straight at the track and it's like you don't even see them go by. Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's
it's a blur. When you're watching on TV, it's crystal clear. The cars. When
yeah.
they're
Yeah,
it's
no.
a
You
blur
see
blowing
nothing.
by you. Yeah.
But then, especially in Bristol, when they're full throttle and everybody's going, it's a roar. You can't hear yourself talk. And then when the caution comes out, it's like somebody just drops a pin and it's quiet.
Yeah.
And then when it green flag drops, it all picks up again. It's it's wild. It's definitely a wild time there.
Yeah. I love
Yeah, I
it.
actually got to introduce myself to Cletus McFarlane while I was there.
Cool.
And I swear he's 8 feet tall. He's one of the tallest guys I've ever met. You see people on social media and you're just like, oh yeah, they're kind of tall. I'm gonna go up and introduce myself. And I walked up to him and I about lost my wording because I looked up and I was like, oh boy. I'm crazy car chick. I just want to say hi.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot of
oh,
drivers in NASCAR are short, and then you have Van Ginsberg. He's like 6'3" or 6'4". And I'm like, how does he even get into a car? They gotta climb through the window and squeeze himself in there. He's so that big. But
Yeah, I'm
most of the
sure
guys are
yeah,
tiny.
because all the doors don't open, so that's got to
Yeah.
be fun climbing into those cars when you're that tall.
Hmm.
yeah, that cannot be fun at all.
I have the
Yeah.
opposite problem. I'm 5'3", so I need a stool to get up into the car. I actually rented a drift car from Slide Factory, which is also the same owner as Graphic Effects, the one that donated the car to us. And I was so excited. I rented the car. I got a buddy of mine who knows how to work on cars and drive, and he drove the car down on the trailer for me. He got it off the trailer and started teching it. And he looks at me and he goes, do you even fit in this car? And I was like, what do you mean, do I fit in the car? Like, I can adjust the seat. And he's like, no, you can't. And I was like, what do you mean? Oh, it was one of the greatest and one of the worst driving experiences of my life because it was my first time drifting on a paved track. Because the first drifting experience I did was actually ice drifting with Colorado Drift School. Um, but I was like, oh, I guess I got to find out if I can fit in this car. And sure enough, I sat in it. I couldn't push the clutch in. My toe was barely touching the clutch. So I went I went around to the track and collected a bunch of pillows and I put 3 pillows under me, 3 pillows behind me, and I had to kind of scoot down a bit to push, to engage the clutch. And I was like, well, it is what it is. I'm gonna give it all I got. And let me tell you that car had regular seat belts in it, which if you know anything about racing, you like to have a harness that like holds you back in the seat so that you're not moving around a bunch. I'd only make it 3 laps and my stomach was so sore from holding myself up. I was flopping all over the place and I was like, well, I'll make sure I fit in the car next time I go to go to try driving.
Yes, yes.
Cuz it was
Ah,
built for somebody that's like 6 feet tall, just the average guy and here comes 5'3" trying to drift it.
that's how I can always tell that Mrs. Holland has been in my pickup truck is when I go to get it because she's 5'2", and
So you get in,
I'm
you can't even fit between you and the steering wheel.
well, yeah, because she gets in, scoots the seat up, and drops the steering wheel down, and I'm like, ah, but
I,
it's
I
Fix
have a
all
my
it's
question.
seat,
all good.
woman.
Yeah. I have a question that popped up for you. At Rend Ra Unison wants to know, Tia, what was the moment when you realized you needed to make a change in your life? And if you
Well,
could,
I could probably answer that in two different ways. As a teenager, I was getting into some really awful things. Probably things I can't mention for social media. Um, but there was a night that I hit rock bottom with it. Actually thought I was going to lose my life at one point, and that was when the very next day I started reaching out to the army recruiters to join the military and get away from the life that I was living. Now, when it comes to my adult life, when pretty much got to the point where I wanted to give up. And I mean, I even told my husband at the time that for him to prepare for me not to be here anymore. And I knew having those thoughts, I definitely needed to get some help and to make to make a change, because if you don't enjoy your life, then what's the point, in my opinion.
Yeah, and really, you should strive to make changes in your life at all times. Keep it interesting.
Well, and you notice that you've surrounded yourself with people that don't have the same drive as you. I like to surround myself with positive people now. People that are very driven, that like to make a positive impact on other people. People that aren't going to be putting others down, they're going to be lifting others up, and really just have this passion for life and for living, and like you said, growing as human beings. And when you look around and you realize that you don't really like the people you've surrounded yourself with, it's time to change that, and to surround yourself with the people that you want to be like. Well, however you want your life to be, you surround yourself with people that are living in that way, and it makes all the difference.
oh, yeah,
And I kind of want to mention that you talk about hanging out with people, same likes and stuff like that. In your videos, when I'm watching at the drift track and everybody's out there, the acceptance that is out there. There's, I saw nobody, oh, your car looks like a piece of shit or whatever. And even the rookies that are coming out there, they built their car, they don't know how to drift, and there's people out there giving them pointers. Hey, come out here, follow me, do this. And it's males, females, young, old. It doesn't matter out there. And everybody was just very accepting of one another. It's a community. And yeah, I just thought that was amazing.
Honestly, that was one of the main things that drew me to the grassroots drifting scene. I can honestly say I've only had two negative experiences in the last almost 4 years, which is unheard of as a woman in a male dominated industry. These people want so badly to grow the community that they welcome anybody. You could have the rustiest piece of junk that doesn't even run right, and they're going to help you get it running right. They're going to give you, like you said, they're going to give you pointers on places to get parts, or how to, telling you to go out and get on the sim, because sim racing or sim drifting is a great way to learn without having to
Mhm.
put yourself out on the track, and to spend your money on tires and all that stuff. But seeing these people, like most of them talk to me like I know what I'm doing and know what I'm talking about. And I know enough to get myself through everything, but I don't know a lot about motors and about all the different parts and what everything does. Obviously I try to learn as much as I can while I'm out, watching people and interacting with people. But in the past, I've been in situations where people talk to you like you're stupid, like and they talk down to you, or they'll ignore you because you don't have the nicer car, or you've only been doing this for this is your first event. Drifting honestly has one of the most amazing environments that I've ever seen. If somebody breaks their car, there's 15 people rushing out onto the track to go help them get it off and help them figure it out. They'll be bringing saws and all kinds of tools, and people running every which direction. And one of the best parts is when they're drifting together, and they'll like crash into each other. They like to touch each other, but not necessarily hurt each other. And
Mm-hmm.
they may touch each other a little too hard and break something, and they come off the track and they go, "That was awesome! That was like the greatest thing ever." It's not, "You owe me money, I hate you, and I want to fight you," and all that stuff. And so that's why I'm such an advocate for anybody that wants to get into some kind of motorsport. Drifting is definitely a great place for it, especially for females. I have yet to see anybody treat the females differently when we're out there. They treat us like one of the guys, and that's my absolute favorite part. I don't want to be treated differently. I don't need special treatment. But I definitely don't want to be, talked down to just because I'm a female. I love the sport just as much, if not more, than everybody else.
I completely understand. And you was talking about the cars out there. When I was watching your videos, you've got everything from, you know, the guy pulling out there, none of his fenders match, you know, and then you got old boy out there going to drift a Maserati.
Yeah. Yeah, we had was it Daily Driven Exotics came out with a Ferrari. They were drifting the Ferrari out there. But yeah,
Yes.
my thing is, I looked up to, there's a content creator called oh my goodness, now is that Supercar Blondie, I believe it is. And she basically goes and talks about all of these really high-end exotic cars that you will probably never see in person, that are well beyond most people's reach when it comes to financial capability. I love people that have the beat up Honda that they absolutely love, or the car that they pulled out of someone's yard that had a tree growing through it. I love the
Mm-hmm.
stories. I love the work that they put into it, the passion they have for it. It may be the ugliest car I've ever seen, but the fact that they love it and they're passionate about it, it makes me so happy. That's why I try to show, when I do my car spotting, I don't just go looking for the nicest car around. I just go look for somebody's car that they've modified, and it might be something silly, it might be something amazing, it might be something cheap, it might be some expensive. It's just everybody, it's anything cars, honestly. Cars, trucks, motorcycles, I don't care. I love the passion, and I want to own many of them.
I understand. I think we've got another question in there. There we go.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Yeah.
Ian
So
Barnes, how does the rush of drift racing feel?
let me tell you, um, up until I had done a lot of motorsports, I've been to the drag strip. Like I said, I've raced people out on the street. I've done autocross. I've done. I push my car to the limits all the time out when I'm out in the middle of nowhere. But drifting is by far the most exhilarating thing I've ever experienced. I have yet to jump out of an airplane, so I don't know if it would compare to that. But when you're in a drift car and you're with somebody that knows what they're doing, from the outside, you would think it would be this like insane, intense, crazy, throw you around experience. but it's actually so smooth. It's hard to put it into words because it's a smooth motion. You're not really going that fast for the most part. Some of the entries will be up in like 100 miles plus, but for the most part, when you're on the track drifting, you're probably looking between 40 and 80 miles an hour. It's not a high speed thing, but you will, if they're doing tandems, you will have cars. And the sound of the engine, I think, is what gives a lot of the adrenaline, because a lot of these cars have very high powered or just very loud engines. So they're hitting the rev limiter. It's, you're sliding sideways, and then you look over and there's a car 1 inch away from you doing the same exact thing. And they do this really cool dance, if you're watching drifting, where they're up close to each other and the back guy drops back so the other one can turn. And it kind of, it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And just all of it, it's usually on the tracks I've been on. Most of them are, say, about 40 seconds to a minute ride. It's almost like a roller coaster. You're wait in line for 2 hours and then you get 40 seconds, which is like the best thrill of your life. And that's exactly how it is.
It's
It's
like a great dance.
it's almost like ballet mixed with
Yeah.
racing, and and a lot, I've heard a lot of people online that are in different motorsports that like to talk trash about drifting, saying that it takes no skill, and that is far
It,
from the truth.
it's controlled chaos. It takes a
It
lot of
is
skill.
absolutely. It is controlled chaos, and it is
Yeah.
seriously. I recommend everybody try it at least once if you have any kind of thrill seeking. Best thing I've ever done, and I'll do it until I can't. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, and I, especially from above, like if you pop something up to take video from above, yeah, it just it looks like they're going to hit one another, and then it's just like, yeah, it's amazing.
It's funny the thrill they get from leaving tire marks on each other's cars, because
Oh yeah,
if you can go through that whole chaos and just get close enough to touch the side, they tell them to come get the door. They want them to leave a mark on the door, and just do it just enough to where the tire kisses the car and leaves a little black mark. You will see these grown men acting like children, just jumping up and down and screaming and so excited, because it takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice. It's not something you can just jump in a car and 10 minutes later you know what you're doing. I haven't gotten a lot of seat time, but I've been in it for, going on my 4th season, and I have so much to learn. It'll probably be another 3 or 4 years before I have that level that a lot of the drivers that I ride with have.
I mean, and I'm sure any different car you get into, you got to learn the
Oh,
movement of that car.
absolutely.
Also, the weight, the weightlessness, how it reacts. And it's got to be. You're constantly have to be on top of your game, learning and learning to do it.
Yeah, what's funny is people that have probably never done it. They like to kind of give me a hard time on the videos where I've showed myself driving. Like, I had a guy from a company where they sell like the protection on the Challengers to make sure people can't steal them.
Hmm.
And they have a Hellcat Redeye that they use. They hire a professional driver to come out and give rides all day to advertise for their company. Well, he was out there. The owner was out there. He's not a seasoned driver. He wanted to take the Hellcat out and see if he could drift it. And the Slide Factory actually hosts once or twice a year. They'll do a clinic where they have a tent that you have to try to drift a circle around, and he'll be in the center kind of giving you pointers. Well, I took a ride with him, and mentioned that I would love to drive the car. And he's like, well, get in the driver's seat then. And I'm like, this is $100,000 car with 1,000 horsepower. Not to mention it's an automatic and it's a massive car. They are so big and so
The
heavy.
beast. Yeah.
And people were giving me a hard time because I didn't do, perfect. And I'm like, I had never drove this car. I didn't even get to test drive it or take it around the parking lot. I literally jumped in the driver's seat of a car I knew nothing about with all these gadgets. It's a brand new Hellcat, and I have no idea what's going on. My hands are shaking, and I'm like, don't chicken out, don't chicken out. You've got the opportunity, just do it. And the owner of Slide Factory, he's one of my good friends now, and he was like, what are you doing in the driver's seat? And I was like, if somebody says I can drive their car, I'm gonna drive their car, dang it. And I gave it my all. He let me go around. We probably did eight to 10 laps around the tent, and he told me, he said, "Man, you did better than me as far as like keeping a tight circle." But yeah, that was a big learning curve with that much horsepower in an automatic. Because
Yeah.
if you
And
I just barely touched that gas, and
they're
that thing
also rear
wants
wheel
to do
drive, right?
a 360.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
so.
Those tires will
They're
break
also
pretty
rear wheel drive,
fast.
aren't
And it's a lot more physically demanding than you would think to
Hmm.
hold the steering wheel, let go at the right time, grab it, and and pull it. And by the end of doing like 10 laps, I was exhausted. No, but I was, definitely excited to put that onto my resume that I got to try to drift the Hellcat Redeye. That was
they? Wow.
Nice.
pretty awesome.
Nice.
Pretty
Let's
cool.
pop. There we go. Got another question there, Stephen.
Yes. Uh, I don't even. Groot Manga wants to know, how did getting behind the wheel change the way you dealt with stress and trauma? Thank you for
Abs-
that.
I would say absolutely. Since I've got back into cars, one of my absolute favorite go-to things to do when I'm stressed or sad or, kind of thinking through some stuff that kind of starts bringing me down is I go jump in my car. I will take my car. I know probably every back road in Middle Tennessee now. I've been here for about 14 years, and I just go out and get lost and find all of the best like curvy roads. And either I'll put the windows down if it's nice outside and just let the breeze blow by. And something about driving, I don't know if it's like the danger aspect of it. Like if you take your eyes off the road, you could possibly, lose your life. Um, but I have so much focus when I'm driving compared to, when I'm not driving. My brain's all over the place and it gets lost in all of these thoughts. And something about getting behind the wheel just puts my focus in nothing else besides the road. And it is seriously my go-to therapeutic thing is driving. If it's not at the track, I just go find somewhere to drive to. And, driving and finding people to interact with. I'm a big people person. If you can't tell, I love to talk. Um,
No, not at all. Not
um,
now.
but yeah, and like I remember the first time I went drifting compared to doing autocross. Autocross is a more um it's a very technical, you're going through cones, and honestly I struggle with it because of my attention. There's 8,000 cones and I'm just struggling to figure out which way to go the whole time. With drifting, there's so much, it's so much fun, and it feels a little bit more free and definitely a higher intensity. I have a whole different level of wellness, like mental health wellness, for at least I'd say about a week after I go to the track. I feel my attention is better, my motivation is better, my mood is better, everything is up here. And I notice that the longer I go without it, I start feeling it come down. And so if I don't have an opportunity to go to the track, that's when I hit the road, and it helps every time.
Good deal. I think we got time for a couple more questions here. We get them, keep them, roll them in.
Okay,
Oh,
Redeye 072 wants to know, how can motorsports become a tool for healing for other veterans?
There's actually so many ways it has become a healing tool. One of the things is actually the camaraderie. If you've ever been in the military, you know that you become close with a lot of your veterans, or a lot of the soldiers that you're working with, because I mean, those are the only people you see all the time, and you end up doing hard work with them. And so we get the camaraderie, we get the joking, I'm I don't put it out on social media a lot, but I love very just sometimes dark and crude humor. I'm not I'm not a play it safe person. I have a rough edge around my vocabulary, and at the
Well, in the
track,
Misfit Nation.
at the track it's the same way. And to me, I think it's very therapeutic to be able to be yourself 100%, to not have to filter yourself, like when you're talking to people. But again, I'll touch on the adrenaline is proven to have positive effects on the brain. So that's a very healing thing too. And then also feeling comfortable around fellow veterans, to be able to talk about maybe some things that you're struggling with or something like that. And something about having that fun and being surrounded by fellow veterans, and just having that community makes you feel like you kind of bring those walls down. And the more you bring your walls down, the more you're able to heal. If you close yourself off to where you're not really opening up to anybody, you're just carrying that weight by yourself. And I think that anybody that sees that there's a group of people hosting veterans and wanting to help veterans lets them know that they're not alone, and that somebody actually cares about, what they're going through. So the whole thing to me is absolutely a very healing thing for the vets.
And going
Awesome.
80 to 100 miles an hour doing anything gets your mind off of everything else.
Yeah,
Just,
it does. I'm telling
Yes,
you,
it does.
as
yeah.
soon as and honestly, I feel like as soon as I wake up in the morning and I know that I have a track event to go to, everything that is the only thing on my mind. I'm not thinking about what happened in the past. I'm not thinking about my bills that need to be paid. I'm just thinking about, I can't wait to get to the track and see everybody, and to get in the cars and to go fast, and to do crazy stuff. It's wild, and it's so much fun. And we usually end up on a lot of these, we end up going out to dinner together afterwards, because everybody's starving. We usually don't eat much throughout the day because we're so excited. But then to also have that, where you sit down and you have a meal together and everything slows down, and it's like having a family. And I don't know about, anybody else, but for me, I left home when I was 19. I haven't had family physically around me my entire adult life. And so to have the people at the track kind of become your family, um,
Hmm.
it's definitely something that's needed. I think everybody needs their community of people.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, I was just going to
Okay.
bring this one up. GD Rev 256, what would you say to a veteran who feels like the darkness is closing in on them?
That's a really good question. And I actually experience this a lot. I actually span through social media. I'm on a lot of veteran pages. So I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of veterans that are struggling and feeling like they're losing hope. They've been through the system, they've been to the VA, they've gone to counselors, they've tried medication, and they're saying that, nothing is going to help them. And what I get to tell them, and the blessing of all of the things I've gone through is I understand and I have overcome, is to say, you know, the first thing I always tell them is to reach out to 220, because that session has changed the lives of tens of thousands of veterans. It is so effective. And you know, surround yourself with people, like I said, good people. Make sure you have friends that you can talk to. um just if you need to make an appointment with a mental health care provider, you know, just there's so many resources for veterans. Google is your best friend. If you need some information, you get on there and say, you know, you can say exactly what you're going through, and you can find there's resources, there's groups, there's all sorts of retreats. I actually went to a retreat at Camp Southern Ground down a little bit outside of Atlanta, and that was actually one of the things that kind of stemmed me into going on my healing journey and starting to work with veterans. But I would say that definitely giving up is not an option, that it will get better if you take the steps to figure out what's going to help you. I can't tell anybody what's going to help them, because what helps me might not help somebody else. I went through so many different things to try to figure out what was going to help me. And once you find it, life just gets so much better. And you know, I've been there so many times. From the time I was very little, I had a very traumatic childhood, very traumatic teenage years, the military. I mean, it was just like 40 years of compacted trauma. And yeah, it's one of those things that I'm extremely passionate about, because I have been at rock bottom with my mental health so many times throughout my life, that my first thing is, please don't give up. Because if I would have given up the first time that I wanted to give up, I would have only made it to 11. And to see, I'm now turning 44 this weekend. That's 33 years of amazing experiences that I would have missed out on. Not to mention living a dream life that I never even imagined. Never thought I'd become a race car driver that's helping veterans. Yeah, it can get better and it will get better. You just have to figure out what works for you.
Yes. Figure out what works for you. And like I said, oh, another question here.
We have two more up there. So,
Okay. Hey, let's
Albert
roll
and
through.
Nancy wants to know, what does racing give you mentally that nothing else could? Thank you for that question, Sal. and
Yeah,
Nancy.
that's all. These are some great questions.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we have
We've got great listeners.
Yeah, you do. I love it. Um, Honestly, like I said, before I got into racing, I never had anything that gave me complete focus. I was an artist for most of my life, and I was all over the place. I was doing photography, I was doing graphic design, I was painting faces at kids' parties, and being pulled into so many directions that it was literally killing me. Like I was I was falling apart at the seams because I was trying to do so many things. And with racing, it is my focus now. You know, I do racing and mental health. Those are the only two things that I do. I turn down a lot of other things because, I mean, for one, getting to go, you know, on the Nashville Speedway, I think I've talked to a bunch of drivers, and around 165 miles an hour is what I've seen. You know, not the NASCAR drivers, just your average person that has a car and
Mm-hmm.
wants to take it on the track. You know, I could go 165 miles an hour pretty safely without having to check my rear view mirror for the cops. So that's one thing, because I'm not gonna lie, I have a massive lead foot. I do my best to stay as close to the speed limit as possible, but I'm never there. I wish I was, but it gives me a lot that nothing else could.
Awesome.
All right, I think there's one more. Yes. Gracie got Nancy wants to know, what does your
Oh,
mission look like moving forward? Thank you
I
for that.
love all these questions. I'm gonna have to
Okay.
keep these for talking about everything. Um, Definitely growing the program means getting cars built. Because right now, technically, I don't have a car that is specifically used for the program. I'm in the process of building two, but I would like to have a whole fleet of cars. That way, if a veteran wants to learn how to drift, we will have drift cars that they can learn in. I would love to partner with some mechanics to build cars to give away to veterans that are wanting to get into motorsports, because I know for me it was one of the biggest hurdles was having a vehicle that you can use specifically for racing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also traveling, having a truck and trailer to where we can go to tracks all over the US and eventually overseas to experience tracks over there. But just growing the program. Right now, I am the only person running this program. I'm going to be looking to expand, hopefully in the next couple months, start recruiting for people to help run the tent, to help veterans get into the cars, to do media so that I can step away from doing media. Because if you looked at my page, everything is me. I run the
Mm-hmm.
social media, I do all the videos, I do all the editing, I do I'd like to say at least 40 to 60 events a year. And trying to run all of that by myself has become extremely overwhelming. So, growing the program to have people to help me run it is a big one. And then also doing a lot of fundraising because, like I said, motorsports is extremely expensive. When the veterans come out, we pay for everything. They do not pay
Mm-hmm.
for anything to come out with us. Once they get to the track, everything is taken care of. I get tickets donated. I get food either catered or I bring food for the veterans. And I also would love to be able to start sponsoring people that offer their car up for rides. I've got several drivers that will give rides to the veterans all day long. And I would love to be able to start giving them parts and stuff like that to pay them for their time, because
Yeah.
they're spending thousands, and they're doing it for nothing, which is absolutely amazing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, we got any more questions in the queue, Stephen?
No, sir.
I tell you what, I hate to do this, but I'm thinking we'll have to slow this train down. Get ready to get off the track here. Before we get out of here, Tia, I've got a few questions for you. First of all, how does somebody get in touch with you?
Well, you can get in touch with me on social media at Crazy Car Chick, which is crazy car and then CHIK. There's no third C on that. And you can look me up on Facebook, Tia May. My inbox is always open.
Okay. All right. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, that's how they can get in touch with you. Now I got a question for you. What are three things that are non-negotiable that Tia has to do every day or her day is not complete?
Three things. Oh wow. I honestly don't think I have that. Like drink water.
Okay.
Really?
All right.
Yeah, I gotta drink water and eat. And preferably drive my car. I like to drive my car every
Okay.
single day.
All right. Hey, that sounds great. That sounds great. Hey, Misfit Nation, thank you for hanging out with us this evening. And remember, uh, hey, if you're out there, you're feeling the darkness, don't do something bad, because today is, don't make today your last day, because tomorrow will not be as good a day without you in it. Reach out to your people. If you don't want to do that, 988. If you're a veteran, take option one. And if you don't want to do that, contact us. We'll get in touch with you and we'll talk you through this. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight, Misfit Nation. We love you. Steven?
Thank you, Tia. Have a great evening,
Thank you
everybody.
guys so much for having me.
Hey, Tia, hang out. I got a question for you that I didn't get to ask. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.